Welcome. My muse has been quite literally about to push me over the edge because all she keeps doing is mentioning the word lilacs and purples, and she just seems to require that I do this. So, rather than fight the inevitable, I've gotten out some papers that I might be able to use and some other things, and I took this out of my big flower book, and I decided that this would be the motivation. I would keep this on hand as my go-to thought. And in bed last night, I thought about these envelope folders, and I do believe these came from Walmart. And I'm taken with quite an urge to make one of these and fill it up with delicious purpleness. And so I've decided to put the two together and just play until I drop. This is going to require a front and back, and oh my, isn't that a delicious big palette to work on. So the quality of the paper is fairly nice. It's going to certainly get a lot stronger when papers are added to it. But so I have this as my palette, this as my motivator, and I got some bits out from my collection of collage, and I thought that these might just set me on the road. So that's my smaller bits of collage, and here is another page from the book, and I can just smell these and wish that we could have them in Florida, but cannot because it doesn't get cold enough. So this is also a piece, and let's see, I chose some papers that I might or might not choose to use here and there. Isn't that just something? And this, as I said, these are just basically to keep me thinking the correct color so that she will leave me alone. And then I found my purple painty paper collection, and so dictionary pages, many of them, some jelly printing from maybe 4 or 5 years ago, some more, and some large index cards, and more jelly printing, and so forth, and so on. And I thought, well, I certainly have the ammunition. Now, to begin, we tuck these aside, and I'm going to tuck these aside, and all of these, because first I want to, no, maybe I'd better leave these out, but this and these can go, and I'm going to plunge into working on this front of this folder envelope. I'm thinking maybe some painty papers for some background. Here and there. some of this also. A little bit of this somewhere. Let's see where that is. Okay, that might work. Goodness, I'm starting to visit with you, and the coughing begins. So that, and then some neutrals. Let's see what I have here. That might do. No, not yet, but I must remember this one. I'm going to stop and go get some lemon water. Well, hopefully this will solve the problem. And this looks like a rather pleasant background. The things we do to keep a muse happy. So, it's time now for some gluing. I have my handy book and my Scotch Permanent. I believe this is the poor thing that I call soupy. All right, let's start over here. It's a very lovely Sunday afternoon in Florida, Northeast Florida. It's going to start to get softly, seriously warm at the end of this week. So we've been enjoying about as much spring as we get, which probably adds up to 5 to 7 days if we're lucky. And we've been finishing up some working in the garden, and doing some changes, because now that we're getting on a bit, the labor has to be cut down. Only seriously crazy people of our age would go out and work in this Florida heat. So we're just making some changes, which is a good thing. And I believe that one was here. I think so. Yesterday was a lovely Saturday, so we went down to Waldo, Florida. I'm not even sure it's a place, but it's definitely on Highway 301, and it's been there since we moved to Florida in 1970. And there is the Waldo Antique Mall, and it, as I said, has been there all this time. It used to be a great source of plunder. Oh, I'm not saying it's so bad now, but I haven't been there probably in 10 or 15 years, and I thought, well, now maybe, just maybe, it might be a source of the things that I'm interested in now. When I was teaching, I also sold antiques as an enjoyment, and we used to be able to find some very nice things there. But times change things, and so it was quite an adventure, and I was quite tickled because I found some old papers. There were quite a few old magazines and so forth, but you know, the seller knew their value, so that means Carol didn't didn't want to pay that amount for them. Although she had every right to, or he had every right to want that. But I did find some beautiful old, a few beautiful old stock certificates. So they came home. Well, Carol, nobody is going to ever accuse you of not being a genius because I glued the wrong side. So there it goes. There it goes. You're going to make believe I didn't do that. And I know you won't tell on me. All right. This page is getting seriously gluey, so it gets folded up for future use. And this one, and I'm actually going to glue on the right side. I'm going to be needing some more glue sticks, and I like Yoo-hoo, but don't find them every place. So I'm going to have to probably break down and get a box of them from Amazon. But I'm not quite there yet. Now, where are we going? Let me take these little bits off to add after. Now, there we go, Carol. This is the back. And last night we went to a graduation, high school graduation party from neighbors, and we've known these girls since we moved here, and they were just little wee things, and now they're graduating from high school. Time does absolutely fly. It's hard to believe that those little tiny, and they're twins, these little tiny girls are off into the world. So that was great fun. It was friends and family, and they must have been 20 seniors, graduates from their high school there. And I, of course, had not really had that much experience with high school age kids, and so that was a great eye-opener. I just loved watching them. They were rather unique with each other. They were obviously, all 20 of them were just great friends. And their dad told me that they actually hug each other every morning when they see each other and go through their day, and give each other, goodbyes and hugs if they're around when they leave school at the end of the day. I said, well, that makes sense. We just leave people to their best angels. That's how they will act. And they were all, obviously, very happy to be in each other's company, even though they've probably been together for 4 years at least. It's very, very refreshing to see that. We were home rather early, of course, leaving it to the young folks, so to speak. And it was very refreshing. It was very nice. It felt good to be around the future of our world, which can be tricky business nowadays. All right. The girls are going to a state college because Florida has a plan in which you can start paying for state education when your children are born, and they did that, so it's going to be less expensive for the girls to go to school here in Florida, and they want to do marine biology, so Florida is the place to do that. Now let's see what's happening here. And, well, that doesn't. Carol, this is going to be all covered up. Do yourself a favor. Grow up. And other than that, my Sunday has been very, very pleasant. After getting home this morning, I did my kitchen witch things, which means I went into the kitchen and cooked. I do love to cook. I always have. That has always often been my solution to any difficulties or problems, which was not the case this morning. I needed to do some cooking, but so I was in there for about an hour and a half. And while I was at it, I cleaned out the refrigerator, you know, kitchen witch stuff. It was lovely. Well, I guess I need to have a little something else here. Something here, something. Mrs. Cog, Liz, shared about the how good using clothespins was for papers. She says she uses them all the time when she makes her journals and so forth, and I found those very inexpensively in a whole box of them, and absolutely right. Listen to experts is my answer to that. It really, really does hold papers beautifully. So I'm sharing with you. It works a treat. Now, I'm not too happy with that. Let's see if we can get that off. Oh yes. Oh yes. Gone. Now, what else do I have? I've got some of that. That might work nicely. And some of that. And some of that, and a little bit there. Yes. I'm going to finish this little bit here. I got to chatting, and I'm afraid I usually would have turned off the camera, but I got to sharing, and it's very nice to have all of you to talk to. And I'm going to get some, pick some stencils. I want to put some little bit more color on there. But first, I'm going to get out my my go-to, because I want to push this a little bit to the back. I'm going to get out some of my golden zinc white and give it a little push. So, the background is, oh, not there, is it? Okay. will be back. So here we have my go-to golden zinc white. And I'm going to put it on with a credit card. And if I'm not happy with the depth of color, then I can always go to white paint or gesso. It's taken a little bit back. I'm not 100% on that yet. We'll see what happens. Now, I want to put a little color on this background. Fold the buff color of the folder. So I'm going to put a little bit of Ceram Coat Sweet Pea down, my lightest shade of this lilac or light purple family. I just want to make some of that go away, and it's working a treat. And now I'm going to put some just over this buff color. Oh my, yes, that's a good thing so far. And now, of course, I'm not one to be able to ignore the sides, so we're going to have a little of that sponged on here very lightly so as not to soften the paper up too badly. I'm going to do that to the this side, the bottom, and the other side. And I certainly know you don't need to watch that. I think I'm going to push this back with a stencil. This is the paper ones that I've had for ages from A.C. Moore. A package of about 25 of them. I've used them quite a lot, and I've chosen to have it off-white. I'm using oyster white instead of my go-to magnolia. That's a little stark. That's a little bit like this. And the greenery down here, I just might pop on a little bit of Ceramcoat Stone Wedge Green. Okay, now I'm thinking this is going to suit. Maybe it's not white enough. Let's just see what we get here. If some of the background is coming through, that will be just fine. So, let's see. Yes, enough. Quite enough. This is liable to be completely covered up. But that's, there again, that's just fine. And this big one. In fact, layering is my goal, so the fact that I'm seeing some background through here is, I'm seeing some music through that white, which is wonderful. And I could not have used the zinc white because it would not have covered at all. I mean, I would have had to put 20 coats on. So, just a little bit more. Now, just a little bit of green. I've been asked about these, and these are cutting boards from Dollar Tree. 2 big ones for $1, and I cut them up to meet my needs and use them over and over again. Just love them. And let's get this covered too, just a little bit. Let's not have any calamities at this point. And here. That's okay. And here. And now the leaves. Here again, a little bit of stem. going to declare these two leaves to be leaves. I think technically they're part of the flower, but not on my planet. And this last little bit, and we'll see where we are. I didn't go down there with the white. Carol, that was very silly. When I do things like that, I often say to my husband, well, thank God I'm cute. So we're going to have to declare that one. I'm going to declare these leaves. Yes, we are. And those need a little more white. That one needs a little smidge more white. And I know that you're saying, Carol, get over it. Enough is enough. And I agree with you. I so agree with you. Well, the reveal is upon me. I don't want to get so attached to it and think it's so precious that I'm going to be afraid to cover it up. But something suggested underneath. This needs to dry because, after all, it is paper. So let's see what we have. Something, something. Well, I'm going to stop for a bit because I have to give this a think. Maybe I'll even give that a think. That's going to be super fun. Yes. Yes. Good morning. It's late morning on Monday, and I'm just back to continue playing with this envelope folder. We were up bright and early this morning to go and get our 6-month blood work checkup and have some breakfast, and then did some errands. And so now it's time to play. I want to catch you up on what has happened on the front, which is not too much. I used this Stampability's shaded French script stamp, which is my go-to, and I'm using Stays On Royal Purple. And then I decided I needed something to speak for itself a little bit more, so I went into my collection of tinies, and I'm using this one for the dark, again with the Royal Purple. And I also use a little bit of Royal Purple here in the gusset So we have I filled in the gusset, bottom and sides, with the sweet pea spice ram coat. And I put a little bit here, and I've noticed that if the gluing comes up a little bit here, I will have absolutely no problem mending it with a little of my own. And I worked on the back because I had a little extra time before we had to leave for to see the vampires, and I used all of my painty papers on the back. And on this one, I did not use this script stamp. I used a Carabelle Studio stamp, stitched mixed media background. And now I'm thinking I'm going to finish this up after I turn the camera off. The gussets need to be done. And then, so let's get cracking and add a little bit of prettiness to the back. As you can see, I haven't used this one yet, but I got quite a few packages at over the last months that I saw at Tuesday morning. This is Inka Dinka Doo, and let's see what this is going to look like. Usually work beautifully. Yes, they do. I like them so much, I use them in my when I'm doing stamping in my handmade journals, because the lines are beautiful and crisp. So let's just see what we can do here. Just here and there and everywhere, just to give a little bit of darkness, not too much. Going off the page, down here, 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, and 1 up here. So now I think I'm going to put a few on this inside lip. As I said, they might be covered, but if not, they will be here. Turn it so you can get at it, Carol. Makes more sense that way. Alrighty. And let me get this one out of the way. So, I do hope that you are having a very pleasant Monday. Very nice. And let's turn this one around over here. And over here. Alrighty, now I believe that is going to be all I'm going to work on for this this segment. I see a little bit of paper coming up here, but that's why we have this. Art glitter glue cures all possible illnesses. And so, the background. If you have enjoyed sharing this with me, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I would appreciate your subscribing to my channel. I'll be back soon, probably with some more of this because this is great fun. Bye now.